Hello, Caleb. This is just some feedback for the contextual research assignment. Normally I would give you this during the project, but because there were some issues with accessing your website, I have to do this later. But either way, just bear in mind that this goes into perhaps a little bit more detail than the other feedback, the official feedback does on our Pro Portal. So you can essentially look at this and make reference to this and think about the final project where you'll be essentially, trying to improve based on feedback that you've got. So this is about research, and this is about research used to inform ideas, which, to be honest with you, I'm quite pleased with your work. Okay, so the contextual report should have been formal research into other works to include literature, television, music, film, and art. All included sources will be displayed using the Harvard referencing system. I gave you a link to cite this for me. Help you do that through in-text citations and a bibliography at the bottom. So let's see what you've got. Okay, yeah. So you've got one surreal reference. Okay, so it should have been at least 5. That was my smart target for everyone, so just bear that in mind. Other than that, there aren't really any in-text citations, but putting that to one side, I will just compliment you on the way in which you are able to write. You are clearly referring to that one website in the proper way. You quote pure psychic autism and then you refer to that website. So officially, you haven't made any errors other than not having enough references, okay? Other than that, you've essentially related to your own experience and your own opinions on surrealism over that, yeah? But when you're talking about the Cubism, the Dada movement, Pablo Picasso, are you not considering the fact that you are actually referring to other things that you're looking at? Even if you're not directly quoting something, you should be providing an in-text citation of what you've been reading and then adding that to your bibliography list, okay? But either way, I do like the way in which this all flows, and I get the impression that the 500-word essay and things like that fits together with the rest to show that you are able to use research to inform your ideas. So this would form like a small portion of your final project. Essentially, you'd go into a lot more detail throughout the whole thing, but imagine this to be like a couple of journal entries or something like that, and there'd be clear links of how it's used to link your research. Okay, your spelling, punctuation, and grammar is perfectly fine. You are writing at a high level. One thing to take into account, though, is that your paragraphs could be larger. I don't necessarily agree with the structure of paragraphs. You've got a lot of small ones. You don't necessarily need that small ones. Try to make it flow more like a proper essay. Less of these subheadings. These could be essentially added within the essay instead of having them as subheadings. You can go into them a bit more detail, what you specifically mean. Can surrealism be used to implement emotional fear of a character? Have you got any examples of this, in something else? Emotional fear found in horror as opposed to specifically surrealism or something like that. You could use that as a way to broaden the subject before you focus on surrealism, etc., etc. Okay, so there's lots of things that you can essentially look at, but just be aware that I'm very, very impressed with this work. You're obviously a smart lad.